Okay, so today is Thursday, and my plan for this channel is to film on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and upload on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That means that I filmed 4 days, but I upload 3 days. And so the idea is I'm gonna, over time, get ahead of schedule so that if I go away someplace, like last week I went skiing, a couple of weeks ago I went to Thailand. If I want to do those things, then I'll still have videos for those weeks. But right now I'm in a state where I'm just like not, I don't know why I'm sort of struggling a little bit to get to work. And it's very easy to then sort of procrastinate on days when I know I don't necessarily need to film today because today is an extra day. So today is like I have 2 shots to get this day done if I want to upload on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Because today is Thursday, I could skip filming today and just film tomorrow morning, upload tomorrow's video on actual Friday, if that makes sense. Or film and upload on the same day is what I could do tomorrow. Which means I don't necessarily have to do anything today if I don't want to. But I'm trying really hard to, because before I went skiing last week, I felt like I was in such a good routine. Like I barely thought about it. I just woke up, went for a walk, had breakfast, got to work, finished work about 3 hours later, had some lunch, edited the video, and then had the rest of the day to do other things. But since coming back from the skiing trip, I feel like I'm not back to the flow of that routine, because that felt so easy. Like the work wasn't necessarily easy, but just the routine had me feeling so good. And right now I just feel quite tired, and like I'm not really back into the routine of filming and coding, and my brain just doesn't feel like it's with me for some reason. So what I'm trying to do now is re-establish that routine again, which it's kind of strange that just 1 week can throw you off that routine, but I'm trying to re-establish it by doing something today, even though I don't, or like I've been struggling to get to it. Like it's 11 p.m. right now, or a.m. I mean, and yeah, it's just been like the apartment's been a mess since I got home, so I had to do some cleaning this morning, and then time just runs away, and all of a sudden it's 11 a.m. and still haven't gotten to work. But like I said in last video, I think, instead of letting that just overpower me and make me not do something, I'm going to do something instead of doing nothing. So we're going to get to work and see how far we get. And I hope my thinking is like when I share this or when I say this, it's not that I'm trying to, I don't know what I'm trying to do, but I feel like I hope these videos can motivate other people to get to work on whatever project you might have, and put in whatever time you have towards that project, so that you can kind of relate to my procrastination and my thinking about this, or my struggles in quotation marks. And then by seeing me still doing it, maybe that will help you do it. And because sometimes I feel like it's easy to just feel shit about yourself when you procrastinate and when you don't get as much done as you wanted to, or maybe had planned to. And like I said, in those situations, it's very easy to just call it a day or like not get anything done for that day and say like, oh, I'm going to start fresh tomorrow and tomorrow's going to be a perfect day. But what I'm really trying to do is I'm not trying to string together as many perfect days as I can. I'm just trying to string together as many days as I can. And hopefully some of them will be perfect, but it doesn't really matter. It should just be like as many days in a row of programming as possible. That's what I'm trying to do, even if it's just like an hour here, an hour there. And hopefully that will help other people or you to get to work and do the thing that you want to do. Okay. So now we can actually create a fake, we can simulate an event in the app. But we might do that on the back-end side, because now we know that we have an event. Okay, so we have an event, and that means that we can now try to event ID. Okay, actually, I got a comment saying that I should probably take out like a whiteboard and just draw out all the different relationships in the database, so that I can then understand it better and know like where we're trying to go and what things need to get done. So I think we're going to have to do that, because what I'm realizing now looking at this event is that where do we keep track of who has signed up to the event? Because we need to keep track of people that are signed up, and then we also need to keep track of the genders of the people that are signed up, so that we know like, okay, if the last person that was signed up was a man, then the next person that should be allowed to sign up is supposed to be a woman, and the opposite as well. So I don't really know. I feel like I need just an overview of the entire thing so that I can understand what actually needs to be done, and in a more robust way. I feel like every time I add something to it, like every time I update a model in the database with like a new thing, like a new row or something, like QID, for instance, every time I update this thing to add something new, because I realize that, oh, we need this. Every time I've done that and then go away for a day or two and then come back to it, I realize, okay, well, maybe we need that too. So I think that is because I don't have a good overview of what the database is going to look like, or what the procedure is going to look like. So I don't know who's supposed to be responsible for what. Like, are the users supposed to be responsible for knowing which events they're signed up to? Or is the event supposed to know which users are signed up to the event? Or should we have because, yeah, I don't know. Should we have like a list of female attendees and male attendees. And then based on the length of those lists, we can then decide which gender is supposed to be added to the event, or should we just have a true or false variable that we manually change depending on the gender of the person that's, I don't know. So I need to kind of see this, I feel like. But I don't know what or how to see that. What is that going? Yeah, maybe this. Go away. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out the relationship or the structure of like how would this work. So this is what I've drawn up now, but I did come up with like why this is probably not the best idea, the way to do it. So this is how I'm thinking about it. User A will sign up to event one, and user A will either end up in the attendees list or in the queue. And then once they've signed up, if they want to attend an event, or once they've signed up, they'll also get the event ID into a list of upcoming events for the user. So that's where we keep track of like, these are the upcoming events that this user is going to attend. And this might be a good idea, but I'm not sure. And then what I was thinking is that when the user attends the event, the user then presses some sort of button in the app that's like attend the event once the date is in, once it's the day of the actual event. And then what will happen is we'll get the upcoming events. So we'll get a list of all of the upcoming events for the user, and then that call will continue and go to the events and get all the actual events. And then what I was thinking is that we'll check the dates of all of the upcoming events, and we'll see which date corresponds to the day that the user actually pressed the attend event button. But that's going to be very like cumbersome and maybe not the best way. A better way could be if the event itself and the back end keeps track of like when the event is going to happen and who's going to attend the event. So then the event could potentially send an invite or a link or like an alert to the user. Like the event is happening now, and that way we don't need to keep track of like which event is this, because the event itself will actually keep track of it, if that makes sense. So the event will then tell the user it's time for the event, and the user will then maybe say that they're going to attend or not attend or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna try to think this through and come back once I've come up with a new solution. Okay, I think I've been thinking through this a little bit now, and also using ChatGPT, also using Grok actually. And the way that I think it could work is that we have a model in the database called event registration, and that keeps track of, that's basically a join table of user and event. And if a user signs up to the event, then we create a registration for the event. And that then has the user ID and the event ID. It has a date of the event, and it has a timestamp of the time that you signed up for the event. And then it has an is registered. So if you are registered, then that means that you have a place in the event. But if registered or is registered is set to false, then that means that you're in the queue. So you're waiting to be to attend. And then we have a has joined, which is false. And the idea with that is that, let's say that I sign up for this event 3 months ago, and then 3 months pass and the event happens and I've already signed up to it, but I have deleted the app, I'm nowhere to be found, and I'm not at all interested in going to this event. Then what could happen is that we could have lots of like ghost users, so ghost signups, people that aren't actually attending the event, but then get put into phone calls with people that are attending the event. So let's say that we have 10 people that have signed up for the event, and let's say that 5 of those people signed up 3 months ago and now have become ghost users. They're not there anymore, and they have no intention of actually joining the event. Then that means that if the event doesn't have a way to check who has actually joined the event on the actual day and at the actual time, then we could have lots of like dead users basically. But if we have a has joined variable that we then set to be true once a user joins the event on the specific day, then we can kind of counteract that problem, because then we could, the idea anyway is to create the phone call lists on the actual day of the event so that we avoid the ghost users as much as possible. Now it's a bit difficult of a problem to solve, because the whole idea is that we need to have an equal amount of female users and male users, and we need to have a queue to keep track of every time a male user signs up. We need to wait for another female user to sign up before another male user can sign up. So we need to have some sort of queue system to keep track of that. But if we take into account the fact that people might sign up and then not show up on the specific day, then I'm not sure how the queue system is gonna work, because it would be very annoying, I guess, if you sign up for an event, you end up in a queue, you get out of the queue, and then you end up in the event, but you get put out of the event because there aren't enough actual users that are attending the event. That would be very annoying. And I don't really know how to deal with that. My idea so far is that you basically join the event, and once you've joined the event, you get added to, or you then have this variable that is set to be true. And that means that we can filter out people, or we can create the call list for people based on who is actually in the app at that time. But that means that we also lose, well, it kind of means that the queue system doesn't necessarily work, or doesn't guarantee anything. The queue system could just be very annoying for people. But at the same time, we sort of need a queue system to make sure that, like, we need some way to make sure that the the gender pool in the app is somewhat balanced, or as balanced as possible, ideally 50-50, but it needs to be very balanced. And the only way so far, I haven't thought about it that much. Well, I've thought about it a little bit, but after realizing this just now, I haven't thought about it that much. So I don't know if there is a better way than the queue system to guarantee like a 50-50 split in the genders. The queue system could also be a way to kind of sort of like Clubhouse when that came out, or like Spotify when that came out. You had like invite links. So if I got invited by someone, I could sign up to the app. And then when I sign up to the app, I get a certain amount of invite links that I could send out to people, and they could sign up. And that sometimes that creates some interest in the app, similar to like nightclubs that have queues. I don't mean anyone specifically, but like the idea is that people will feel like they want to go or feel like they want to be there, or that like they're missing out on something because they can't actually create an account on Spotify unless someone invites them, let's say. And so the queue system for this app could do that as well, where maybe once you've actually received like an event registration, maybe that because it's kind of difficult to get one, maybe then that could mean that people that do get that do end up having a ticket to the event, let's say, they actually want to attend a little bit more than you would normally for like a regular app thing. But I feel like that's very difficult. It's very difficult to make people, or to create something where like getting people to keep track of times is very difficult. I think it's probably the most difficult problem that you could solve when it comes to building apps, because people don't tend to keep track of times even for things that they want to do outside of like the app world. Like even if it's like a birthday party or your mom's birthday, you like, some people forget that stuff. A lot of people forget that stuff. Mother's Day, Father's Day, all those things. So why would someone remember this app then? There's really no reason for them to. So I kind of want to, ideally you'd want to create something where they would want to remember it. And one way could be to make it difficult to get a ticket to the event, because if it's difficult to get a ticket, then people tend to value it more. But that also has to be genuine. I feel like it can't be just that we manufacture difficulty. Like we can't pretend that it's difficult when it's actually not difficult. It has to actually be difficult for it to work, I think. And when I say difficult, I don't mean that it has to actually be difficult just to be difficult, but it has to be difficult in the way that it makes sense that it's difficult. Like, well, if we want to have 50-50 splits, then it makes sense that it's difficult, because for each person that signs up, we need to have someone of the opposite gender, and everyone can understand that. So everyone can kind of get behind or reasonably understand that, well, it's kind of fair that there's a queue, because if I want to attend this event, I want it to be a 50-50 split. I don't want there to be way more guys than girls or way more girls than guys. So in that sense, that type of difficulty is fair, I think. But the question is just, if you're going to make it difficult, it has to then amount to something. Like, it can't just be that it was really difficult to sign up to the event, and when the event actually happened, it turns out that most of the people who signed up didn't show up for the event, so there was no one there to talk to. That cannot happen. But I don't know if it's like an impossible thing to solve for. I think ChatGPT is actually a pretty good place for questions like this, because I think ChatGPT tends to be pretty good at like filling in knowledge gaps. And right now I think I have a knowledge gap here where I don't know if this is like an impossible problem, or if there are like smart solutions to it that aren't just queues. So let's do a new chat. Actually, let's try Grok on this one. Okay, I actually just came up with like a potential solution to this, reading through Grok's answer. I'm not sure if Grok actually said something about this, but I think I have a potential solution. But these sort of solutions is always difficult to know if me as the creator of the app thinks that this is a good idea, but no one else will actually care about it, or if this is an actual good idea. So I'm going to test it, and you can let me know in the comments what you think of it, if anyone gets this far in the video. So my idea is that what you could do, I think I got it from, because basically Grok said something about like a confirmation system. So what you could do is we could get rid of the queue system completely, not have a queue at all, not really worry too much about the 50-50 split. But what we could do instead is we could have a system where when I sign up, the backend server essentially starts trying to create my call list, so my matches. And then once we have a list of my matches, or not matches, but like the people that I'm going to be in a call with on the event. Once we have that list, I get sent an email that says like, we finally put together or we've found your matches or something like that. And then once the actual email gets sent, the user can then go into the app and check the details maybe on, I'm not sure how many steps we're going to have here, because ideally you'd want to have a few steps. You want to have like a confirmation email or something to the user that shows up not on the day that they have signed up to the event, but like 10 days or something before the event, 5 days before the event, or 4 days before the event, something like that. And then they have to actually confirm there that they're going to be attending the event, because that's sort of like a second step showing that they actually want to attend. They didn't just download the app on a whim and sign up for an event and then just got rid of the app and forgot all about it. If they get that email and actually press that, yes, I'm going to sign up to the event, then they can get another confirmation or something that says, or the email could be like, do you want us to start putting together your list of matches? And they could say yes or no, or confirm yes or no in the email. And if they confirm, then you sort of added like some value, or some maybe sparked some interest, or created an open loop is what they sometimes call it in storytelling, I think, which is where I say that, like, let's say that I tell you right now that I've just come up with a great solution to this, but before I tell you, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I've created an open loop there. You're sort of like maybe interested in knowing what is the solution, and that makes you more engaged and more interested in actually continuing to watch the video. And so if we create that open loop for the users, where we say that, do you want us to put together a list for you? Because the event is in just a few days. If they say yes to that, then we can go ahead and try to gather users that have signed up to the event for the specific user. And maybe a day later, 2 days later, something like that, maybe a day later, we send them an email saying, we found your matches or something. And what they can then do is they can press on a link in the email, open up the app, and inside the app, they get some information, like basic information about the people that they're going to talk to on the event. And that's basically going to be a third confirmation that they don't necessarily know about, which is that if they do click on that button, then that will tell us on the backend side that, okay, this user's now both signed up to the event, confirmed that they wanted to attend the event, and then also looked at their matches. So it's fairly likely that they're going to show up on the actual day. And based on those 3 steps, we also create a lot of engagement for the user, maybe. Again, as the creator of the app, this idea might be better for me than it actually would be in real life. But I think it's kind of a good idea, because then once you've actually started to read about your potential matches, like what are their hobbies, what are their interests, you're going to start to build up an idea of like, this person is interesting, or this person is interesting. And you've also started to invest some time into the app and into the whole idea. So instead of the other way around, where you just download an app, join an event, and then you'll see what happens, you've now gotten some sort of like, it's like on Christmas when you've seen the gifts under the tree. You've seen the gifts, but you don't know what's inside them, so you want to know what's inside. You've kind of seen the size of them, or the color of the wrapping, or the shapes, or whatever, but you don't know what's inside it. So that could be a really good way, I think, to make people, like hook people a little bit on the idea, and like make them actually want to show up to the phone calls. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, because I think the queue system is something that we're going to have to just throw away for now. Maybe we can even have we could take this one step further. I just realized we can make it where the user gets an email every time they get a match. So every time you get a new match, you get an email with the link where you can actually read about this person. Because that means that you'll get potentially 6 notifications about the app. And that will be a really good way to judge whether this person is actually going to show up to the event or not. So that's a really good idea, I think, if I want to be a little bit if I'm going to try not to be too humble about this. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea. The only problem I see right now is that we kind of have a similar problem as before. Where do we? I mean, it's a better situation, this, but we still have a similar problem, which is that let's say that I sign up to the app, I confirm in the email that I do want them to put together, or I want the app to put together a list of matches for me for the calls. And then the first match comes. The problem is, how do we know that that first match is going to actually show up to the event? And what I realized as I was talking about this is that for someone to end up here, for someone let's say for another user to end up in a potential pool for me to be matched with, they have to have gone through these first 2 steps. So that means that they've gone through two different confirmation steps, I guess, for the app, which means that they're actually at least a little bit more likely than someone that's just gone through 1 step. So they've gone through 2. The problem is, well, what if they don't show up after this? Like, let's say that the person that gets matched with me checks me out in the app, reads about my information, but then when we send them their next match, they don't open the email. We send them another match, they don't open the email, send them another match. All of a sudden, it's fairly likely that they won't show up to the app on the event. So then what do we do for me as the user was matched with that person that is now no longer responding or interacting with the emails or the notifications, depending on what we use? That's a little bit problematic, because do we then go in and tell me that, hey, the first match that you got seems to be inactive, we're not sure if they're going to show up? So actually I just came up with a solution to that as well. What could be done then is that we could actually, again, be more authentic, more open with the users, to tell them this is what's happening, how do you want to deal with it, and allow the users to actually be part of this decision. So what we could do is, if that happens, if let's say that Cal has a match that is now no longer responding to any emails or interacting with anything and seems kind of AFK, then what we could do is we could actually just tell Cal about this. Tell him that, well, the first match that you got was responding to these emails, but now it doesn't really respond anymore. we're not sure if they're going to show up or if they're just a ghost user or something. Do you want us to find some other match for you, or do you want to see if they'll show up on the day? And then maybe the user can actually decide for themselves, do I want to risk it and see if they'll show up, or do I want to be matched with someone else? I think that's a really good way too, because that again just means that we're more open with the users. We tell them what's going on, and instead of just hoping that everything's going to go all right, or switching matches for the user without telling them, this way we actually allow them to be part of the decision themselves. Okay, I'm realizing there's a lot to think through here, but I think that's probably going to be the way that I'm going to solve it, to be honest. Okay, so we're going to write this down. Create sign up flow. Because what I'm realizing is that this could also be incentive for users to interact with the emails or to respond to things or like use the app. Because if we are open again with the users and tell them like we're really trying hard to have a 50-50 split of users, so the way that we do that is to make sure that the people that do sign up are actually interacting and are going to be active on the events. And the only way for us to do that is to see if you're responding or interacting with our emails. So if you want to maintain your spot in this event, then you have to interact with the emails or make sure that you're just in the app every now and then. Because that could then create some sort of like incentive for the users to actually use the app, and also make them maybe, again, similar to a queue to a nightclub or something. It just creates that more of like, if I want to do this, I need to make sure that I actually, like, again, we make it difficult for the users. We make it a little bit more difficult than the regular app would, but the difficulty is kind of warranted. Like there's good reasons why it is difficult. And the difficulty could increase the desire to attend, maybe. And maybe it also adds some validity to like, this is a genuinely like, this is an app that actually is trying something, maybe. All right, that's going to be about it for today because I need to go do some other things. But I think this is a really good structure, and I think this is a good way to kind of solve a lot of the problems that I've been thinking about lately. And again, this is a day where most of what I've done is just think about how do I solve this problem, which was necessary because the next step is going to be to actually start doing these things. But before we start actually doing stuff, I need to think things through a little bit more than I have so far. Just because I tend to, my typical thing is that I get excited and I get started, and then I realize later on that, well, actually, I probably should have looked this up a little bit beforehand, because I tend to build things out first and then realize how I should have built it out, and then rebuild it, and then realize again, oh, I should have done this, and rebuild it again. So I want to avoid that as much as possible, even though I'm not very good at avoiding that stuff. So this is my attempt at avoiding that for the future. So we'll probably need to rebuild some things in order to make this work, but not too much, I don't think. Okay. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on Monday.